What really happened in Minneapolis, and why did it suddenly put Donald Trump under intense national pressure? This story didn't slowly build over weeks. It exploded in hours. One moment it was a federal immigration enforcement operation happening in a single city. The next, it was dominating national headlines, cable news panels, social media feeds, and political speeches across America. At the center of it all was Alex Pretti, a 37-year-old ICU nurse whose death during that operation has now become one of the most talked-about political flashpoints of the year. To understand why this incident became so massive, you have to understand the climate leading up to it. President Trump's administration has made aggressive immigration enforcement a cornerstone policy. Federal agents have been deployed in multiple cities with the stated goal of strengthening border security and enforcing immigration law more strictly. Supporters call it necessary action. Critics call it federal overreach. Either way, the atmosphere in certain cities, including Minneapolis, was already tense. On that January morning, federal agents were conducting an operation connected to immigration enforcement. During that operation, an encounter occurred involving Alex Pretti. According to early official statements, agents believed they were facing a threat. The initial explanation suggested that Pretti approached officers in a way that made them fear for their safety. Within hours, that explanation was circulating widely. But then came the videos. Bystanders had recorded the scene from different angles. Those clips spread rapidly across social media platforms. In the footage that many people saw, Pretti appeared to be holding a phone. There was shouting, movement, physical contact, confusion, and then gunshots. The images were chaotic, emotional, and powerful. And once millions of people watched those clips, the narrative was no longer controlled by official press releases. This is where things escalated politically. President Trump responded quickly and forcefully. He defended federal law enforcement and emphasized that agents must be supported when carrying out their duties. He criticized local Minneapolis leadership, suggesting that city officials had allowed disorder to grow and that federal presence was necessary because local authorities were not doing enough. His message was clear: the administration stands with its agents. For Trump's core supporters, this was consistent. It reinforced the law and order theme that has defined much of his political identity. But outside that base, reactions were more divided. Civil rights groups immediately called for an independent investigation. Lawmakers began demanding transparency. Questions emerged about whether early official descriptions matched what people believed they saw in the videos. Within 48 hours, protests filled parts of Minneapolis. Demonstrations spread to other cities. The issue began trending nationally. News networks ran split-screen panels debating whether the administration reacted too quickly before all facts were confirmed. The conversation stopped being only about what happened in that moment. It became about federal authority, accountability, and trust. One key factor that intensified scrutiny was the speed of the administration's initial statements. When leaders speak firmly before investigations conclude, they risk being locked into a version of events. If later evidence complicates that version, it creates political vulnerability. That is the position the White House found itself in as more footage and eyewitness accounts continued to circulate. Reports soon surfaced that internal discussions were taking place within the administration about how to handle the fallout. The commander overseeing the Minneapolis operation was reassigned. That decision drew immediate attention. Reassignments during controversy often signal recognition that the situation carries political cost. It does not automatically mean wrongdoing occurred, but it shows awareness of public reaction. The White House also moved to bring senior immigration officials more directly into the situation. Messaging became more measured. While the administration continued to defend enforcement efforts, the tone shifted slightly from immediate certainty to acknowledgement that investigations were ongoing. At the same time, there were indications that the federal presence in Minneapolis might be reduced or reorganized. This subtle shift was significant. It showed that even an administration known for projecting strength and consistency was adapting to public pressure. For President Trump, this represents a balancing act. His political identity is strongly tied to tough immigration policy. Backing down too visibly could alienate loyal supporters, but appearing indifferent to public outrage risks pushing away moderate voters and independents. Political analysts began asking whether this incident could influence polling. In highly polarized times, many voters rarely change sides. However, independent voters often respond strongly to issues involving law enforcement and civil rights. If they perceive inconsistency between official statements and visible evidence, trust becomes an issue. Trust, especially in close elections, matters. Meanwhile, Democrats amplified calls for investigation. Some lawmakers demanded congressional hearings. Others pushed for the release of body camera footage and detailed timelines. Advocacy groups framed the situation as part of a broader pattern of aggressive federal enforcement tactics. The debate expanded beyond Minneapolis. It became a national conversation about how far federal power should extend inside American cities. Supporters of the administration countered that federal agents operate in unpredictable and dangerous environments. They argued that short video clips rarely capture the full context of a tense situation. They emphasized that officers must make split-second decisions and that hindsight analysis can be misleading. This divide in interpretation became one of the defining features of the controversy. Another element adding complexity was the media environment. In today's digital age, narratives form rapidly. Social media algorithms amplify emotionally charged content. Clips are edited, reposted, and debated in real time. Political influencers shape opinion within hours. By the time official investigators gather complete evidence, public opinion may already be hardened. For Trump, the challenge now is strategic. If investigations strongly support the agent's actions, the administration will argue that early criticism was premature. If investigations contradict initial claims, pressure will intensify significantly. Either outcome carries consequences. There is also the broader policy impact. Immigration enforcement has been central to the administration's messaging. Any perception that operations are causing instability in major cities could complicate future deployments. City leaders in other states are watching closely. Governors are assessing public reaction. Political donors and campaign strategists are calculating risk. What makes this moment different from routine controversy is its emotional dimension. Alex Pretti was a healthcare worker. That fact resonates with many Americans. When incidents involve everyday professionals rather than political activists, public reaction can be stronger because people see reflections of ordinary life interrupted. As investigations continue, more information will likely emerge. Body camera footage, internal reports, forensic analysis, and witness testimony could clarify key details. Until then, the story remains fluid. But politically, the impact is already real. The reassignment of leadership, the messaging adjustments, and the national debate all demonstrate that this incident struck a nerve. For President Trump, moments like this test not just policy positions but leadership approach. Do you double down? Do you recalibrate? Do you shift tone without appearing to retreat? Those decisions shape public perception more than any single press conference. The coming weeks will determine whether this becomes a short-term headline or a defining chapter in the administration's record. In modern politics, crises rarely disappear quietly. They evolve. They influence campaigns. They reshape narratives. Right now, the Alex Pretti incident stands as a powerful reminder of how quickly local events can become national political turning points. The facts are still developing. The debates are ongoing, and the political stakes remain high. If you found this breakdown helpful and want deeper analysis on stories like this, make sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss what happens next.